A while ago on my channel, I found some stories that I wrote as a kid. As a kid, I wrote a lot of stories. I wanted to be an author, and I still wouldn't say no to being an author. And today, once again, I have found my big yellow folder. And this is nowhere near all the stories that I wrote as a kid, but hopefully we'll find some good ones in there. I think I wrote these around about the time that I was maybe 9 or 10, and I was a big fan of Jacqueline Wilson. She writes children's stories that touch on real life issues, so she's not afraid to talk about divorce, about young mothers, about mental health issues, and I just thought she was the coolest and I wanted to be her. So some of these stories are probably going to touch on issues that I didn't quite understand even then as a kid. So this could be interesting and I hope you enjoy. The first story that I found is about a set of twins, and that doesn't surprise me because I was obsessed with twins as a kid. And looking at this, it reminds me a lot of a particular book by Jacqueline Wilson called Double Act. If you've never read Double Act, you might be hearing parts of the story and thinking, wow, she came up with that all by herself. But if you've read Double Act, you'll see very obvious links between the two of them. And I wrote this in 2 points of view. I had a black pen and a blue pen, and that's to indicate which sister is speaking at the time. So for the purposes of reading this out, I have a hat. When I'm one of the twins, I'll be wearing this hat, and when I'm the other twin, I'll be wearing nothing. I'll just have a bare head. So hopefully that will help you to follow on with this story. Hello, my name's Willow. This notebook's just for me and my twin Flower. Why did I come up with those names? No one else, especially Ruby. Why not Willow? She's almost like a mum to us. Almost like a mum. Never will be. I just hope Dad stabs her too, like he did to Mum. This is the third line and that's already so dark. What? Don't say that, Willow. That's mean. The funeral's in a couple of weeks. I don't know how I'm going to cope. Dear, dear. I guess I'll have to tell you how it all started. You be the editor for the story, Flower. I'm not sure I meant the word editor at that point. Maybe I mean narrator. You mean you're going back to the very, very beginning? Why not, Flower? Anyway, stop worrying. Find some pictures pronto. Yeah, right at the end of this page, I've got some pictures. And they're even drawn in the style of Nick Sharratt, who done the illustrations for Jacqueline Wilson's books. I'm not really coming up with anything original except the stabbing thing. Where did that come from? Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman called Dolphin. Dolphin? She had lovely blonde hair and milky blue eyes. She met a handsome man called Mickey. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about the whole dolphin thing. I don't think I've met anybody ever called Dolphin. She met a handsome man called Mickey. They got married, and 6 months later, they found out Dolphin was pregnant. Another few months passed, and they had twins, daughters called Willow and Flower. Oh, Willow, don't cry. I'll finish off the story if you want. It's so sad. I can't put it. You write it. It all worked out brilliantly, but 11 years later, on the twins' birthday, they had a fight. Mickey was drunken and stabbed Mum. That was the last she saw of the world. I had a wild imagination as a kid, and none of this is anything that I have ever experienced. I didn't have any experience of going to a funeral. I didn't have any experience of seeing anybody drunk. I'd never seen anybody use a knife as a weapon. So this is just totally my imagination going wild. Flower? Flower? What are you going to wear to the funeral? We have to look the same. I'm planning on going like this. That looks like kind of a 1989 style Taylor Swift. You can't go like that. It's a funeral. Dad'll go mad. He's the one that stabbed her and got Rose instead. He won't care what I look like. Hey Willow, stop writing. There's someone at the door. Yeah, because you'd write that down before going to answer the door. You'll never guess who was at the door that day. It was our stepsister Star. She looks beautiful, like this. I don't know why her nose is crossed through. She explained she was here for the funeral and she had decided to come and see us. That's awfully nice if she's your stepsister. She was staying at a hotel down the road only because she didn't want to interfere with Dad's life after the death of Dolphin. We still couldn't believe it. Mum told us of a boyfriend called Michael, but we never knew they had kids. This is like a messed up family. It really is. I'm like 3 pages in and we've already heard what I hope is all the family drama, because we've got a drunken dad, a stabbed mum, and a secret daughter. I'm like really packing it full of the action here. So I'm going to skip on a bit because I think we've got the idea that there's twins and they have a kind of messed up life. I want to know where this is going. Willow? Oh, Willow! I hate it when Willow isn't talking to me. I don't know what to do, say, or even think. I also get bad asthma attacks when I'm worried. I'll need to find my inhaler. For context, I do not have asthma. I've never needed an inhaler. There was maybe somebody in my class who needed an inhaler, but when it comes to asthma, I didn't really know very much. And when Willow wants to badly enough, we can feel our emotion. We can feel our emotions. I think she means we can feel what each other is feeling. Star came up later and asked where Willow was. I thought Willow was with Star. So where is she now? What's she doing? When will she come back? If she does, I start another asthma attack. Star calmed me down and got me to tell the whole story. This sounds more like a panic attack than an asthma attack, but I don't think I knew what panic attacks were at the time. Rick, I don't know who Rick is, stayed in for a further 5 minutes to call the police, and Ruby, because Dad was out. We got to the park and the police were already there. I suddenly felt something. It was Willow! She was trying to tell me she was very scared and wanted help. Oh right, okay, so we're kind of like psychic twins now. I told the police this, and they said I had to try and read her mind. I couldn't. I fainted. In the hospital, I remembered what I saw. A man trying to kill Willow. I started up another attack and uh-oh, I didn't have my inhaler. I was on an oxygen mask for half an hour, but apart from that, I was fine. Yeah, this is really showing that I just don't know anything about asthma. I slipped in and saw Willow. She was shot in the arm, but apart from that, she was fine. So guess who tried to kill Willow? Dad. Yes, Dad. We told you he was a bit crazy, didn't we? He was out when Willow went missing too, remember? So anyway, he went off to look for me and Willow and take us home. He was in the park by Star's home when he saw Willow. Guess who he thought it was? Star. He wanted to shoot Star in the head and get us back. Only thing was, it was us he nearly killed. I went into resus because my asthma was so bad. Resus is short for resuscitation. It's part of the A&E department in the hospital, and I'm pretty sure if you have asthma, you don't really end up there. This was all over the papers, and so Dad went to court, and he came out being judged as a bad father. Me and Willow were on the local and national news. We got in magazines such as Hello and OK, and then the last word of the story is most, and I never finish my thoughts. This next little workbook here is a play, and I'm not going to read too much into this, but I will tell you what the story behind this was. So this is Laura's struggle at school, and I think I wrote this when I was around 11 or 12, because I think I was going into high school at this point. Laura Brown is in Mrs. Brown's class at school. Unknown to her friends, Laura is actually the teacher's daughter. This is full-on Hannah Montana stuff going on here. She doesn't want to tell them because they tease her. Mrs. Brown feels if she lets Laura be spoiled, it would be obvious she's her daughter. I've crossed out daughter and then put in mum, but I can't figure out which one makes more sense. So she does the opposite. She continuously gives Laura detention. That's a good mum right there. I'm not sure it's even possible to end up with your mum as the teacher. I think they would have figured that out and put her in a different class. Okay, so the next booklet is Winnie the Pooh, and I've wrote in the front this time that I was 12 when I started this. Oh no, Louisa started on me again, saying I scratched her CD when I borrowed it last Saturday. It's not easy coming to a whole new country. I had to learn English, find new friends, and write to my old ones. Mum said I'd be fine and came to the school gate with me. She left me alone when she saw a group of girls coming up to me. They all liked me, except for Louise. You could tell she was looking for something to laugh about. I gave her the perfect excuse. Bonjour, I said in perfect French. Bonjour, said Tanya, just behind Louise in a friendly way. You idiot, said Louise. Speak plain English if you know how to. Tanya laughed and said, I'm Tanya. This is May, as she pointed to a girl with bunches in. Emma, a pretty girl with very long hair. Elaine, a tall girl with curly hair. And Louise, straight blonde hair with big blue eyes. I knew from the minute I stared into those eyes, they read, I hate you. This was not it. She had a go at me for existing. Okay, so I have my pink polka dot top and jeans 3/4 length, which aren't exactly this season, but I'm not me without them. Just because I'm top of the class and Louise is bottom doesn't mean she can have a go at me. She's never seen France and I have, but who cares? She stopped after Tanya stood up for me. You're sad, Lulu. Picking on Jamie when she has just came here. Give her a break. She made her move back into bullying when I asked to borrow one of her CDs. I asked for Busted and she agreed. But as she gave me it, she sneered at my decision. I hate that album you've swapped me, and Busted is boring. In fact, I don't have a problem with them. It's you. Next week, when I went to give it her back, she said I'd scratched it. I didn't mean it. That's if I had. Even Tanya hates me now. Oh, that mean pig. The end. The way I've written that reminds me of magazine articles, or at least the magazines that seemed to exist for young teens when I was around. They'd present the story, they'd go back to when it started, what had happened, and then if it was like the agony aunt page, sometimes it would end like, what do I do now? And then the agony aunt would come up with ideas of how they could solve the issue. But as a short story, that's not very motivating. On the next page, I've given myself a homework task. Pick at least 5 magical creatures and write about them 1 page at least. And I had fantastic beasts and where to find them. So I've copied paragraphs out of that book onto this page. And I picked Bowtruckle, Phoenix, Unicorn, Gnome, and Ghouls, if you're wondering. And then I've put at the end, all information found in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, because you should always credit your sources. It's a Harry Potter fanfic, because I think everybody of a certain age has written at least one, and it goes on for a whole page before I realise I'm totally out of my depth and I'm not J.K. Rowling. Wingardium Leviosa! I cry as Paws, my cat, goes flying across my dorm. Can't you at least go and practice that in the common room? Alex sighs as she picks up the cabinet poor Paws flew into, picked him up and dusted him down. Her own cat, Binker was like a TV series, by the way. If you remember Binker, it's awesome. Binker stood on her 4-poster bed looking petrified and dizzy. Paws came out of the rubble that Alex had laid her in. Then I realised Paws slammed into the ceiling and bounced off the cabinet. There was a huge hole in the poor roof that let the poor roof. The cat has just been flown across the room, hit its head off the ceiling and landed in a cabinet and all this rubble, and it's the poor ceiling. Kate, your priorities are messed up. There was a huge hole in the poor roof that lay above us and dust on the ground below us. We weren't the only ones who'd realised either. Excuse me, let me through. Ginny, is that you? Oh. I realised, I think I meant recognised, this girl almost immediately as Hermione Granger. She was right though to think Ginny might have been here. Ginny's in our dorm. We've never met Hermione to talk to though. Is your cat okay? She says, peering down at paws. She let out a shocked gasp as she looked up to see where the rubber was coming from. Oh dear. Can be fixed though. Reparo. As fast as a jaguar, the rubble returns to the ceiling and looks as it did 5 minutes ago. And that's where I gave up on that story because I was totally out of my depth. So there we are, and I think this is maybe a picture of paws on the next page there. So I'm going to leave it there for today because those were very, very detailed, and I can understand now why teachers said I had some imagination. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed hearing these stories as much as I did. And if you remember any of the stories you wrote as a kid, let me know down below. I'd love to read them. And thanks so much for watching, everybody. Cheerio. Thanks again for watching, everybody. If you want to hear more stories I wrote as a kid and you didn't see my last video, it's up here. And over here is a video that YouTube think you might like. And of course my subscribe button is over here if you'd like to stay up to date. Thanks again everyone. Cheerio.